Hiddenness is an interesting issue. It's and my take is probably not a popular one. I just don't find it a problem.
Okay, please enlighten me, because it literally, I don't know if you know or not, I've sort of transitioned into more of the popular sphere. So I follow Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it a little bit, and people will send polls out about the number one worry for both the theist and the atheist, and hiddenness comes up all the time. Now, I don't always think they have the right concept in mind. I don't think they have the Schellenberg concept in mind, but if you're talking about non-resistant non-believers, then I'd love to hear your take, because
it's interesting to me. Yeah, people, I don't know tons about it, but when I've encountered it, my first thought is like, this sort of problem is, I think about, like Paul says in Romans, be without excuse. So what non-resistant non-believers? And that's not to come across as rude or whatever, but I think it's tricky because, especially from a Christian perspective, we're told that there's general revelation. So Paul has said, everyone's without excuse because the evidence is there. This is what the evidence supports, that God exists. And then, we're also told, Jesus says, I stand at the door and knock. So it strikes me that, the Christian picture is he's there. He's wanting to connect with you. And so I question, I do think there are non-believers who are nice people, that are good people, and that may be sincerely searching in a way, but it's just, I can't say for sure, but it's not clear to me that they're non-resistant in the sense that they're searching in a way that's fully open to the Holy Spirit. And what I mean by that is, you might think, oh, I'm looking for the evidence in the way that I think it should be looked for. And I'm looking for God to give me the sort of answers that I'm tracking for and that I want, or that I want to see in a particular way before I'll believe something. But that's not clearly non-resistant to me, or to my mind. And so, like I said, it's probably I'm sure an unpopular view, but my thought is, on the one hand, I've got the evidence that I see that I have is this. There are people who seem sincere and say that, look, I'm trying to figure this out, and I'm searching for God. But for that to be a problem, just on that part of the evidence, it has to be that they continually search and they don't connect with God. And I'm not sure that happens, right? Now, it could be that for a while they're trying, or they're sort of trying, or they think they're trying and they're not. But anyway, you've got that evidence. But then on the other hand, you have the evidence that, Paul says, there's general revelation. There's, no one has an excuse. And then you've got Jesus saying that he stands at the door and knocks, right? And will come in if someone will let him in, basically. And so when I put those two evidence together, I say, well, to my mind, it's more likely that there's some resistance that we're not picking up on as resistance. Now, like I said, of course, that is not a popular view, because a lot of people say, well, you're saying that these people have some sort of issues, and to which I said, well, yeah, part of Christianity is all humans are fallen. We're in a state, we're in a fallen state, which means we all have something that makes us resistant. In fact, Paul talks about this a lot, that right, we're enemies in a sense of God. And so anyway, all that. So kind of a long, kind of more rambly way of saying it's just not fully clear to me that, one, that there are non-resistant non-believers at all. And then two, if there are some at a time, if they persist, that they will always remain that way. So I think to be a real problem, there has to be someone who has, throughout whatever period, been a non-resistant non-believer, extended, and it remains that way. And I'm just not, I don't see the evidence for thinking that.
Okay. Yeah, and that's why I raised the worry about prehistory. So Schellenberg's very careful to say that people who lack the concept of God, they may have been searching, so to speak, and been open to some sort of experience of God, or they wouldn't say God, but they were open to God, and they just never found him because they lacked the concept, or they never had the right experience. So I think it's easier to make that case that there's no non-resistant non-believers for sort of, Jesus's time forward, and then even back a little bit further. But once you get into sort of prehistory, then I think it becomes a little trickier. And that's where I'm wondering if that's maybe where sort of your view could help,